Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm your host, Alex Harriman. This is my co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are two of the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. I see we got Parker in the mix today, too. For everybody watching, that's Kelly's dog. For everybody not watching, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry you don't get to see a dog today. How are
Hey,
you?
Kelly, how you doing?
I'm good. What's new in your world?
What's new in my world? Actually, I'm going to tell a dog story because it's kind of funny.
Okay.
And for everybody watching this, you can see my face.
Yes. Okay.
He's currently still a puppy, a lab at home, and he's got tons of energy, and I try to hike him lots because, as everybody who's had dogs knows, like a well-exercised dog is a well-behaved dog, and under-exercised dog gets crazy. So the other day I come upstairs and he decided to shred our other dog's bed. She's a husky mix, and she goes on a long hike twice a week with a dog walker, and it's like the highlight of her week. So I just can't take it from her because she loves it so much. But Gary doesn't need it because I hike him so much because he's really good off leash. So she goes on these leashed hikes with this dog walker, and when the dog walker comes, Gary's rattled because he's like, why are you going somewhere without me? But like, he actually gets way more hikes than she does.
Yeah.
And so he gets mad, and it was like a straight up hate crime. Like, while she was gone, he murdered her bed. And I was so mad at him because I come upstairs and there's fluff everywhere, and like, dog beds aren't cheap. And so I'm like, okay, you need a hike, you got to burn off some energy, let's go into the forest. And I go into the forest and I get a stick jammed in my face, scratched my face, and I'm bleeding. And I'm like, Gary. that part had nothing to do with him, but it was just like the spiral. I was like, I'm so mad at you right now. And I look down at him, and he's like, his whole body's just wagging. He's like, hey.
What an adventure.
So that's my dog story.
Poor dude. That sucks. And like, how else do they express it, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
too funny. Well, you do have a nice war wound. You look badass. So
I know. I told Devin, I was like, I hope this thing scars. It's gonna look sweet.
the difference between men and women.
Yeah, you guys get like scar creams and stuff. I'll be like scratching at the scab to try to make it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, this is too funny.
All right, this is getting carried away. What do you got for a topic today?
Something that you spoke recently about on one of our coaching calls with our clients. You just did such an eloquent job, at speaking to this topic, which is what to do when you hit a plateau. There was a really great comprehensive checklist for people to go through to navigate them, and I just thought this is gold. Let's share it.
Cool. Love it. I like this topic, and I think it's something that everybody has experienced at some point. So let's dig in. Do you want me just to take off running, or do you have a way you want to do this?
Take off running. You did it so well.
Okay.
Don't fuck it up.
Okay, I'll try not to. Bye.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I need to start by saying, often when you think you're in a plateau, you're not in a plateau. And like, if your weight is sticking or your progress is sticking short term, that's often just our body like catching up, right? Like give it a minute. You don't need to raise the red flag and panic. What is the actual timeline? Well, there's not really a timeline to what is determined a plateau. I guess technically a couple days could be a plateau, but it's not. I'm telling you, it's not. Like, your weight fluctuates all the time, so don't stress over it. I usually tell our clients, like, don't stress over it for 2 to 3 weeks. Even at that point, I wouldn't stress over it. But when the time comes that you're like, okay, what is going wrong? I want to reflect here and see if there's something I can adjust, then we revert back to this list. So the first thing on the list for our clients, we call it X consistency. What this really means is, Well, our clients track using a point system, and they track their perfect days and their non-perfect days, if you will. So however you're currently tracking nutrition, how often are you hitting your targets is what a X consistency is. Um, if you're not tracking your nutrition, you can't get mad about not making progress because you're guessing,
Yeah.
right? Like at the end of the day, I don't expect people to track for life. You get a pretty good handle. Like I'll go through waves of tracking and waves where I'm like, oh, I know this meal, and this meal hits my goals, and I don't really need to track. But if I get to the point that I'm not progressing, I have to go back to tracking to make sure because things change, and you will subconsciously start eating too much or too little or having slightly bigger portions. So like there's a time and a place for tracking. It's right at the top of this list. How often am I actually hitting my goals? Not guessing. How often am I actually hitting my goals? We like our clients to be hitting them 80% of the time. This is going to vary depending on who you are and what program you're following. Like some of you will need to hit, if your goals are light, you're going to have to hit them 100% of the time. If your goals are really aggressive, maybe you only have to hit them 70% of the time. But whatever that is, like have that honest look. How often am I actually hitting my goals? Okay.
Mhm.
That good? Or is there anything you want to add there, Kelly?
No, I love it.
Okay. Next one is our O intensity. So for our clients, an X is a perfect day, an O is a non-perfect day. Now, a non-perfect day for us just means we didn't hit our goals. That could mean like you had one extra serving of like something super healthy like a sweet potato. That's enough to make it an O day. So understand that there's big variances between our O days, and we call it O intensity. So on your days you're not hitting your goals, how out of proportion are those days getting? Are you binging? Are you going off the rails? Are you having like Dwayne Johnson type cheat meals? Because this is going to affect how much progress we make. If we're hitting our target 6 days a week and going nuts on the seventh day, there's a really good chance you're doing enough damage on that seventh day not to make progress.
Yeah.
So that's the second place we look. And the way this list works, you don't move on to the next until you can actually say, yes, I'm good here. So if your X consistency, you can't check that box and say I'm good here, that's the first thing you need to address on this list.
Mhm.
Okay, no, I'm being consistent 80% of the time. Okay, let's look at the 20% now, our O intensity. How out of control are these days getting? Okay, good.
Yep. Great.
Okay. The next one is our total movement. So how much am I moving on a day-to-day basis? This isn't our exercise specific movement. Exercise goes into this factor, but this is on as a whole, how much am I moving? And what I like our clients to do is compare now where they're in a plateau or they're stuck to a time where they were making progress that they would like to make again or that they deemed as an acceptable level of progress. Is the movement similar, the same, better, or am I way off? If you are way off, I'm not asking you to jump right back up to that level, but kind of in a 10% increment. We want to increase by about 10% per week. Feel that out, make it your new norm, and see if that starts to affect the way that we're progressing just from that adjustment in movement. Um, yeah, do you want to add any side notes here? I know that this one we went a bit deeper on our coaching call.
Yeah, you covered it in a really comprehensive way. I think one of the things that was a light bulb for me, just in my own life that I needed to hear again was total movement. Because, a lot of people will say to us, like, well, I'm doing my workouts 3 days a week or 5 days a week, even, and that's going really well. And that's wonderful. That's better than nothing, right? Something over nothing as a guiding principle. But if you're sitting at your desk for 9 hours after that, then you're really not doing your body a huge favor. The 45-minute workout becomes not as relevant to your progress because you're so stationary.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the people, well, it's a big range, but everybody listening to this likely burns between 1,500 and 4,000 calories a day. I know that's a massive range.
Yeah.
Now that's including your workouts. Some of you might be less than that if you're not exercising at all, but that's including your workouts, that's including your day-to-day movement, that's including your body's basic needs to provide energy and operate organs and everything in between. um the workout you are putting into that 1400, 1500 to 4000 is probably like 200 to 500 calories, right? Like it's a fraction of your total daily burn. So that just goes to show how important all of the little movements are. Parking further from a building, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, choosing to stand while you're on a phone call, walking around your house, taking an extra couple laps. These movements contribute to that massively over a long period of time.
Yeah, I love that. And this point that you're making will become relevant again in the seventh point that you're going to make. So I just want
For
people to
sure.
hang on to that and put it in their pocket for a minute.
For sure. Okay. Um, the next one, kind of a blanket look, is what our actual food choices are. And so for our clients, they have a points goal they have to hit. They have a protein goal and an alternate goal. Most foods fit into that alternate category. They have a lot of freedom over which alternates they choose from. They could use an alternate for chocolate or they could use an alternate for sweet potato. Um, for those of you who count calories or macronutrients, you can stay under your macro goal or your calorie goal with junk food. You can stay under your calorie goal with healthy food. Um, it doesn't directly on a short-term basis affect your progress, as in if you're in a calorie deficit, you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight, but long term it will, because it's going to affect the way you perform, it's going to affect the way you feel, it's going to affect the way you recover, and it's over time going to affect your metabolism. And so it's not the number one thing we need to address, but it's important. This whole list is important. And so if you've gotten down here and you're being consistent, your days off aren't going out of control and your movements in check, it might be a good opportunity to like do a food log and look at the quality of foods you're putting into your body and be like, yeah, you know what? I am using a lot of my extra calories on wine or chocolate or chips or things that aren't giving back to my goal as much as I would like. There's still absolutely wiggle room for that stuff. You can fit it in, but how much of it are we giving to those food choices? How much are we allowing space for things like fruits and vegetables that are going to have massive payoffs in the way that we feel and the way we perform? I know part of the reason I really like our point system is that fruits and vegetables don't count against our clients. So we really, really encourage you to eat tons of those. Whereas when you start counting calories and macros, sometimes when you only have 100 calories left, you're like, I'm not going to use this for fruit because I really want that piece of chocolate. So, pros and cons to both. Nothing's perfect, but just something to keep in mind. Anything you want to add there?
No, I love the concept of just evaluating the intake of quality of nutrients, I should say, because quality chocolate can't be argued. It's just quality of nutrients that you're getting is the issue at this point.
Yeah, and how in line they are with their goals, right? Like we've got people who love carbs, we've got people who love fats. Well, are you getting a healthy balance for what you are trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one I did, the next one I did two things together. I'm actually going to do three. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to do stress, sleep, and water because I just have a hard time picking which one should be in which order, and they're all really important. So I'll start with stress and sleep because I think they really complement one another.
Mhm.
When we're really stressed, we typically don't sleep well. When we're not sleeping well, our stress levels often get higher. They both affect the way we feel, the way we perform, the decisions we make. Um, we know that if we aren't sleeping, what most of our highest level of recovery is happening when we're sleeping. So if we're not prioritizing sleep, we're not prioritizing recovery. If we're not prioritizing recovery, we're not progressing as fast as we could. It's going to affect the way you can lose fat, gain muscle, change your body composition, and everything else you do. So over time, these factors have a harsh impact on our metabolic rate, the way that we are actually able to lose fat. The big thing for me with stress and sleep is like a chunk of it's within our control, a chunk of it's without our outside of our control. Try not to let the stuff you can't control you. Try
Oh,
not to let the fact that your kids come in the middle of the night to wake you up stress you out because you're now not getting enough hours of sleep. It's like, yeah, but did you actually try to allow yourself? Did you get to bed on time? Did you stay up late watching Netflix? Like control these factors. And when the kids come in and wake you up, or you get laid off at work and your stress is through the roof, like stuff that maybe you couldn't control, okay, there's nothing you can do about that, but control those things we can. You don't need to stay up till midnight watching Netflix.
cool.
Anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah, two things. So, one, just kind of being a little bit funny, but there's some truth to this. I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And it's like, when you are not getting adequate sleep, you're taking years off your life because of what you're talking about, right? Like, and it's been proven in scientific studies that if you're not getting enough sleep, adequate sleep, that it shortens your lifespan. So it's like, okay, do you want that to happen, or would you like to give yourself adequate sleep so that you can prolong the quality of your life, right? So just I'll say food for thought with that terrible cliche. And then one of the things that I had added when we did this coaching call together was the difference between stressors and stress, right? So I had talked to people about the fact that stressors are the external event that happen. They occur in life, like you said, getting laid off, car accident, things like that. So a stressor can instigate stress within our bodies. And then we have the individuals whose personalities or default mechanisms go to stressing about things, right? Where there might actually not be stressors in terms of events, but they are worried about everything, over responsible for other people, brainstorming how everything could possibly go wrong. And I think I even mentioned like the idea that some people live their life from a place of what's called foreboding joy, that things might be going really, really well, but they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So even when things are good, they won't let go of the stress within themselves, right? It's the lens through which they're filtering the entire experience of life. And so stress and stressors are two separate things that I want people to think about because, again, both of those things are going to impact sleep and vice versa.
Yeah, awesome. And like on that side note too about the sleep that Kelly mentioned, like I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, don't be upset about your progress then,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like we need to allow the body to recover in order to make progress. If you're not creating an ideal atmosphere for recovery, then you're not creating an ideal atmosphere for progress.
Cool. I like that.
So water I put up here too because I for different people this will be as high of a priority, or some it'll be less, some it'll be more. So I think it's really important regardless. Like I said, I think this whole list is important. But water for sure. Water, plain and simple, it keeps us full. It keeps us out of the high calorie drinks. It makes sure nutrients are getting where nutrients need to go. Keeps us hydrated, obviously, so we can perform better and recover better. I don't really need to get into the benefits of water with you guys, but we know how important it is. There's tons of research to back that up. Make sure that you're prioritizing water.
I would like to add to that. Yeah, I know I switched from coffee to water, just perfect timing. Um, I think a lot of people default, especially women, because of the beauty industry, to think like, oh, I need my water to hydrate, and hydration always equals great skin. Okay. And I'll just, like I said, I'm speaking from a women's perspective. Water helps your internal organs function, right? And I think some people will also think, like, yeah, I can appreciate getting dry mouth. I can appreciate being parched after a big workout, and I want to rehydrate so that my skin stays fresh and my body feels good. I want to remind people that hydration also allows your brain to function. So when we are dehydrated, we might still be walking around having a brisk walk, even, or getting off of a really difficult workout and think, oh, I feel fine. I don't even feel like I need to drink a bunch of water. But hydration is actually helping your brain function cognitively, right? So when you're thinking about decision-making processes, healthy judgments, everything that's coming from that important prefrontal cortex that is the developed part of our brain, we need that hydration in order to function from that place, find our language center, etc. Otherwise, we are operating from that very undeveloped original part of our brain, which is putting us on autopilot and sending our central nervous system into a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And that is not a fun place to live from in terms of just surviving versus thriving.
It's all of your organs, like you said, like your body can operate with very little water. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's operating optimally.
Yeah.
Like hydration, your nutrients will get where they need to go. They will get there easier and better with enough hydration. Like make it easier on your body.
The thing that comes to mind when you say that is like bowel movements. Like you will go for a bowel movement, but you know the difference when you're hydrated versus not, when it's easy versus a very difficult one. And it's like, I hope that gives people a laugh, but I also hope people are like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do that to my heart or my kidneys.
Totally. Totally. Um okay, so then the next one I put is exercise, and I put it down here because I don't like people defaulting to this as like the root problem. It almost never is the root problem. Exercise is amazing for us. It's essential in our journey. It's really really important for us to stay limber, to stay mobile, to stay strong, to have good bone density, to age well. Like it's very very important for us. But the effect it has on our I shouldn't say body composition, on our fat loss journey, um it isn't usually as important as these other factors. It complements all of these other factors, absolutely. But these other factors are the first place we need to look. Um, Circling back to like what I talked about earlier, like it contributes to that total movement, that total daily movement, absolutely. But it isn't the biggest part of that total daily movement. So if we've gotten down here and all of these other things, you're like, yep, crushing it, crushing it, crushing it, crushing it, crushing it. Yeah, it's a good time to look at your workouts. Am I working out? Am I doing enough? We like, should I add a little bit more? Should I change up the intensity? Should I change up the style of workouts? This is a good place to look at it. But it's rare that we can actually honestly go through that checklist and not pinpoint one of those before we've gotten to this one.
Love that.
Good with it?
Yeah, it's great perspective.
Okay. And then the last category, the other category. This needs to be last on this list, but often we go after it first. And it's good to look at. You should look at all of these categories for sure, keep an eye on them, but it needs to be done in this order. This is the last one that's actually holding you back. This is things like hormonal changes, aging, genetics, diseases, illnesses. This is the stuff that usually is out of our control. We can't control how old we are. We can't control what genetics we inherited. These are things that will affect you, but not as much as what we put in our mouth and how much we move our body. So I'm not trying to put this down or say that it doesn't have a place. Everything on this list has a place. It's the reason it's on the list. But it's the last one. It's been scientifically proven that something like aging has much less effect on our metabolism than the factors we can control. How much we're eating, the quality of foods we're eating, and how much we exercise and how what the exercise looks like. So should we look at it? Sure. But you can't change it anyways. You can't change the rate of that you're aging. You can control all of the things you do on a day-to-day basis. It's the same with a lot of the illnesses and hormonal changes and things like that. Some of it's outside of your control. Some of it, yeah, we should see our doctor about and try to get a handle on for sure. But a lot of it you on your own can't control. So control those other factors. And if you can go through that list, like I said, honestly, and check, 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 I promise you it will have an impact.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Like, you may go to your doctor and have your hormones looked at. and they may say to you, yeah, your hormones are out of balance, and we can absolutely give you, something that's going to help you bring those into balance. They come into balance and you're still not losing weight, right? Like, it's not necessarily the reason that you're not losing it.
No,
Fact can be that they're out of balance, but all those other things are going to be the contributing factor to you being able to lose the weight, right?
here's the thing, you need a calorie deficit to lose weight.
There
And
you
so if you are not in a calorie deficit, you will not lose weight. So your hormonal changes or genetic factors can lower your metabolism, so that to get into a calorie deficit, you have to go into an unhealthy range to create that. So hopefully these medications or these choices you're making help slowly bring your metabolic rate up so that it's easier to exist in a calorie deficit for you to lose weight. It doesn't create a calorie deficit though. So the medication can help balance the hormone. It can't force you to eat less. It can't force you to move more. And the same thing applies with something like Ozempic. Ozempic makes you, it's a fat loss medication for people who don't know. It makes you feel less hungry. It doesn't force you to eat less, right?
Interesting.
And so it also doesn't, like, this is a complete side note, we don't have to go down this hole, but it doesn't teach you how to exist like this. You're not, nobody here, nobody listening to this wants to take a medication for the rest of their lives. So if it works for you short term, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you for life. Like, the way that we make a sustainable life change is by learning. That medication is just preventing you from doing something or encouraging you not to do something while you take that medication, right?
Yeah, it's the easy pill, right? Or that Staples commercial with like the easy button. Like, it's just,
It is and it isn't. It's already been shown that it's decreasing people's muscle mass. It's having other negative side effects. So like the as we age, we progressively lose muscle mass. If you're taking a medication now that expedites that process, that's muscle mass that's going to be almost impossible for you to gain back afterwards. The more muscle mass we carry, the higher our metabolic rate is. So you want to hold on to muscle mass with everything you can as you age. Your muscle mass protects your metabolic rate. Your metabolic rate determines how much you can eat on a day-to-day basis. If you're now sacrificing muscle mass, you're living the rest of your life with a slower metabolism.
mhm. Can you speak just briefly too about people who say like, "Oh, well, I'm older and my metabolism dropped," because like this really hit home too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, previous research used to suggest this, that our age played a massive role on our metabolism, but what we've come to realize now is that it doesn't play a massive role. In fact, what happens over time, our metabolism slows, but it's slowing almost entirely because we're not moving as much. As kids, as young adults, we move a crazy amount more than we do as adults. We get desk jobs. We choose to sit for our leisure time. We choose to sit when a kid chooses to run and climb and crawl and jump. And that is what's having the huge impact on your metabolism over time. Is that in one day you don't really notice that, but day after day after day after day, that is slowly chipping away at your metabolism, because things like you're losing muscle mass because your body doesn't need as much muscle to sit on a couch as it does to crawl around your house. So you start to lose muscle mass, your metabolism starts to slow down, your energy goes down, your metabolism starts to slow down, your not your body's requirements become less because you become sedentary. And so if we continued to live our lives the way that our children live our lives, our metabolisms would be way freaking higher. So once again, just circles back to control the things we can control, and they will help the things we can't. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Something like a hormonal imbalance that we treat with medication that affects our metabolism, often exercise and proper nutrition help balance that too. Almost always, actually. I don't even want to say often because it's almost every single time. And so as we do this, something like a thyroid imbalance that can really affect our progress when we're talking about weight loss, as we start eating properly and exercising properly, that naturally starts balancing your thyroid. So it's a vicious cycle. As your thyroid's become imbalanced, you often become overweight. As you become overweight, your thyroids often become imbalanced. So the two of them feed off of each other and make the other situation worse and worse and worse. But the beautiful part of this is, as we start taking control with probably a balance of medication and a balance of exercise and a balance of nutrition, we start to get both of these things under control. Our body becomes healthier, we start losing weight, our hormones start to become balanced, we start making progress, and over time there's a really good chance you need less of that medication or none of that medication.
Love it. I hope people feel so much hope from this podcast. Like, if the light bulb has gone off about just one of these 7 things, like, you can make great change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. um I'm gonna cut it off there because we're running long on this one. So if anybody has any follow-ups, anything they want to ask, reach out to us, guys. This is what we do with our clients in depth. So if and when you're ready to have that conversation with us, reach out to myself, reach out to Kelly, and see if or how Breaking 90 can help you or be a part of your health and fitness journey. I'm gonna leave you with a quick tip today. And this is to create yourself a few quick circuits. People get really overwhelmed by the idea of what their workouts need to look like, especially when they're in a time constraint. So what I want you to do is just create a quick circuit. And an easy framework for this is to pick 3 exercises, rank them from hardest to easiest, do 2 repetitions of the hardest one, 4 repetitions of the middle one, 6 repetitions of the easiest one, and set a goal for the entire amount of rounds you want to get through. So let's make an example. Push up, uh, push up, box jump, air squat. Okay. So now I'm gonna do. I'll say in this example, push-ups is the hardest, so I'm gonna do 2 box jumps, like box jumps or box step-ups, whatever you have, or we'll do 4, and then air squats we'll do 6. I want to get through 10 rounds as quick as I can, and so I'm gonna do 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. Probably gonna take 5 or 6 minutes to get through this, and you're done your workout. Is it a full workout? No, but it's awesome. It's way, way better than doing nothing. The beauty of this is you can now make it harder. You can do 3, 6, and 9. You can do 12 rounds. You can slowly grow on this and build on this kind of thing. Or when I'm in a pinch for time, I know exactly what takes me 5 minutes and I can throw that into a 5-minute session. Creating a few of these gives you a lot of freedom over that I don't have time to work out mentality.
I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Wherever you are right now, take a screenshot, share this to your Instagram, and tag at Breaking 90 Fitness. Thanks for being here.